Harry doing in China, of all places? It doesn't seem right. Royals, diplomats, UK politicians.
Quite different. I don't look at Meghan as someone who I would get business advice from. Because I find her quite vacuous.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Famous and Fearless channel. Jon Stewart didn't shout, he didn't rant, he didn't even raise his voice. He just looked into the camera and called Meghan Markle the worst entrepreneur of the year. One sentence, that's all it took. No palace gossip, no leaked emails, no anonymous sources. Just a deadpan line from a comedian known for skewering politicians, not duchesses. But this jab, it wasn't comedy, it was cultural commentary. And it hit harder than any royal scandal ever could, because it wasn't just funny, it felt true. For years, Meghan Markle has launched podcast empires, publishing ventures, production deals, non-profits, lifestyle brands, even children's books. Each rollout slicker than the last, but every time there's one problem: nothing sticks, projects vanish, buzz dies, the applause fades, and behind the glossy headlines, a growing question no one in Hollywood wants to ask out loud: what does Meghan Markle actually do? That's why Stewart's joke didn't feel cruel, it felt overdue. Like someone finally said what insiders have whispered for years: Meghan isn't running a business, she's running a brand with no product. And suddenly, the backlash wasn't just online, it was everywhere. So how did it come to this? How did Meghan Markle go from global sympathy to global skepticism? And is there still time to turn it around? Let's break it all down. It was supposed to be Meghan's big debut, a podcast backed by Spotify, branded as bold, feminist, and groundbreaking. Archetypes promised to dismantle stereotypes, spark cultural conversations, and prove Meghan was more than just a duchess with a spotlight. And with a $20 million deal riding on it, the pressure was sky high. The show launched with fanfare, celebrity guests, custom branding, glossy marketing. Even Prince Harry made a cameo or two, but behind the scenes, total chaos. Multiple reports revealed ghostwriters handled much of the scripting. Meghan barely conducted the interviews herself. Some guests even claimed they never spoke to her directly. And while the show tackled hot-button topics, the execution felt safe, curated, controlled. Listeners noticed. The buzz wore off quickly. Headlines cooled. And after just 12 episodes, Archetypes was dead in the water. Spotify didn't just cancel it, they scorched the earth. Bill Simmons, one of Spotify's top executives, didn't mince words. He called Meghan and Harry grifters. That's not a troll online, that's someone inside the deal, publicly torching the bridge. It was a moment that stripped away the PR gloss. No more palace drama to blame, no racist tabloids, just a platform, a project, and a massive payday that led nowhere. And here's the part no one says out loud: that podcast wasn't a failure because of sabotage or critics. It failed because it didn't deliver, and that's become a pattern.
But this is the new show that Netflix is promoting, with the American actress who became a duchess, who tried to destroy the royal family, which then booted them out of England.
If Archetypes was a stumble, it wasn't the only one. Because Meghan didn't stop, she pivoted again. Next came Confessions of a Female Founder, a new podcast project with Lemonada Media. The branding hit all the right notes: women in leadership, entrepreneurship, empowerment. It looked promising, sounded empowering, but after just 8 episodes, it vanished. No press release, no explanation, just another quiet fade out. Then there was The Bench, a children's book inspired by Harry and Archie, released with high hopes, major headlines, and even a reading at a library event. But despite the media push, the book made little cultural impact. No bestseller buzz, no awards, just polite applause, and then radio silence. The pattern was becoming hard to ignore. Hype, launch, fade. Each project came packaged with high expectations and high production value, but barely lasted long enough to be remembered. Even her Netflix docuseries Harry and Meghan followed a similar arc. It promised vulnerability, raw emotion, an inside look into royal life, but the result, a polished, sanitized narrative. Critics called it surface level, self-serving, and repetitive. Sure, the views came in, but credibility, that was another story, and that's the recurring theme. Beautiful launches, beautiful beautiful branding, but no staying power. It's like every new venture is a trailer for a movie that never gets made. When Archetypes flopped and her publishing dreams fizzled, Meghan still had one card left to play: purpose. Enter Archewell, her and Harry's nonprofit brainchild, launched with sweeping promises: global compassion, social impact, mental health advocacy, racial equity, digital safety. The website read like a manifesto. The mission statements? Picture perfect. But beyond the slogans, what actually happened? Dig a little deeper, and you'll find reports that are vague at best, partnerships with little follow-through, campaigns that never quite landed, and no clear sense of where the money is going or what it's really accomplishing. Compare that to other celebrity-driven foundations, and the difference is glaring. Rihanna's Clara Lionel Foundation has funded climate resilience and global education. Beyonce's Bay Good has built homes and launched small business grants. The Obama Foundation is cultivating global leaders. Meghan's? It releases stylized photo ops and aspirational quotes. It's less a nonprofit and more a curated extension of her personal brand. More style than substance. And that's what has critics raising eyebrows. Is this philanthropy or just more PR? Because when a foundation says compassion in action, but delivers mostly buzzwords and filtered pictures, people start to wonder, is the cause the focus or is the spotlight? By now, the Meghan Markle brand had covered podcasts, books, documentaries, and philanthropy. So what was next? Wellness. The whisper started in early 2023. Meghan was working on a luxury lifestyle brand, a Goop-style empire, California-inspired, clean living, herbal teas, home goods, skincare lines, possibly even fashion. But here's the problem. There was no there, no website, no product line, no pitch deck, just a few strategically leaked stories and carefully curated Instagram rumors, the kind of breadcrumbs meant to build anticipation without confirming anything. And the media, once eager to play along, started asking questions. Was this brand real or just another placeholder? An idea floated to keep the narrative alive while the actual work lagged behind. Even now, years later, there's no sign of a launch, no trademarks filed under the supposed brand name, no prototypes, no samples, no influencer buzz, nothing. And that silence, it's louder than any PR headline because it feeds the growing perception that Meghan doesn't build businesses. She announces them with perfect timing, beautiful graphics, and no follow-through. A brand without a product is just marketing, and eventually even the most loyal audience stops waiting. In the middle of all this brand-building chaos, one voice cut through the noise. Not a critic, not a royal expert, but a late-night legend, Jon Stewart. He didn't rant, he didn't dig up dirt, he just delivered a single line. Meghan Markle is the worst entrepreneur of the year. No follow-up needed, no explanation, just the kind of surgical strike Stewart has perfected over decades. And somehow, it hurt more than any headline. Why? Because it wasn't mean, it was observational, and it spoke to something everyone had noticed, but no one had dared to say so plainly. The difference between looking successful and being successful. For years, Meghan had walked red carpets, inked deals, and launched projects with royal-level media attention. But what Jon Stewart's joke exposed was the growing suspicion that behind all the activity, there was no actual achievement. He didn't call her fake. He didn't call her a failure. He just did what comedians do best, held up a mirror, and the reflection wasn't pretty. More importantly, it wasn't just a joke, it was a signal. A moment that gave Hollywood, investors, and even former fans permission to say, yeah, maybe this isn't working. Because when comedians stop laughing with you and start laughing at you, you're not a mogul anymore, you're a meme. Public perception is one thing, but in Hollywood, perception has a price tag. And after years of launches without results, the industry started doing the math. Netflix, once eager to ride the royal wave, quietly axed Meghan's animated series Pearl before it ever reached production. The official reason? Budget cuts. The real story? No proof of concept, no confidence. And Netflix wasn't alone. Production houses that once courted her with open arms began backing off. Talent agencies that were once rumored to be fighting for her signature? Radio silent. Sponsors suddenly harder to lock down. PR teams whispering the phrase no public figure once attached to their name. High risk, low return. That's not a tabloid insult. That's boardroom code for she's too much drama and not enough delivery. Because in an industry built on momentum, Meghan was beginning to stall. Every new deal required more convincing. Every pitch came with more questions. She wasn't seen as a game changer. She was seen as a gamble. And for brands and studios, that's the kiss of death. You don't need a formal announcement when the silence says everything. And the most ironic part? The royal title that once opened every door was now starting to weigh her down. down, not because of who she is, but because of the expectations she never quite met. Here's the real issue no one in Meghan's camp seems to address. She keeps changing lanes without ever choosing a destination. One minute, she's a mental health advocate, the next, a podcast host, then a children's author, a documentary subject, a philanthropist, a lifestyle brand founder. Every role introduced with fanfare, and every exit just as quiet. There's no through line, no signature, just reinvention on repeat. And while reinvention can work in Hollywood, just ask Reese Witherspoon. It only works when it's anchored by actual output. Reese didn't build Hello Sunshine on red carpet appearances. She bought book rights, hired writers, produced shows, delivered results. Her pivot from rom-com star to media mogul wasn't a PR move. It was a masterclass in strategic execution. Meghan, by contrast, seems to be skipping the boring part, the planning, the grinding, the doing. She's chasing Oprah's influence without putting in Oprah's decades of sweat equity. She wants the brand without the business, the voice without the body of work. And in today's hyper-connected media landscape, audiences notice because what people want now, more than polish, more than prestige, is purpose. And Meghan's ever-shifting image is starting to feel less like evolution and more like identity whiplash. The wild thing? Meghan had the perfect setup for a comeback. The royal exit gave her a global platform. The Oprah interview earned her sympathy. The Netflix and Spotify deals gave her more resources than most entrepreneurs could ever dream of. She had the stage, the audience, the story, but instead of delivering a defining project, she kept launching more brands, more press releases, more teaser campaigns for things that never landed. And now, the buzz is fading, the goodwill is running out. Even her most loyal supporters are starting to feel something worse than betrayal, fatigue. They're tired of being told something big is coming, tired of watching the same cycle, hype, launch, silence, tired of seeing someone with all the tools refuse to build anything real. There are rumors, of course, whispers about a new climate documentary, a female founder spotlight, another podcast, another brand, but no trailers, no timelines, no traction. And here's the truth, no publicist can spin. People don't want another pitch. They want a pivot, not a rebrand, not a reinvention, a real earned comeback, something that shows vulnerability without vanity, substance without spin. If Meghan dropped all the filters and made a doc about her own post-royal missteps, the behind-the-scenes chaos, the failures no one saw, the pressure to live up to her own headlines, that would go viral because audiences don't connect with perfection. They connect with the climb back from imperfection. But until she does that, every new project will feel like another glossy placeholder, another attempt to rewrite a story the public is already finishing for her. Jon Stewart's joke wasn't just a punchline, it was a pop culture pivot. He didn't expose a secret, he confirmed a suspicion. That behind all the branding, behind the titles and speeches and million-dollar deals, Meghan Markle hasn't yet delivered a single project that truly lasts. And in the world of media and entrepreneurship, that's not a personal failure, it's a professional reckoning. Because a brand without a product, that's just a billboard, and eventually even the flashiest billboard gets ignored if there's no building behind it, no foundation, no core, no reason to stop and care. The good news? It's not too late. Meghan still has the influence, still has the resources, still has the chance to build something, but it'll take more than a press release. It'll take vulnerability, grit, focus, and maybe for the first time, silence while she works, not while she waits. Because the world isn't asking for perfection, it's asking for proof. And until Meghan gives it, Jon Stewart's joke won't just be remembered as a roast. It'll be remembered as the moment the mask finally slipped, and everyone stopped pretending not to notice.